Alright, I've never really been good with introductions, and this will probably be the least cohesive video ever made, but here's hoping I can at least get my point across, which is a simple yet contentious one. Gintama is one of the best animes of all time. I've been an avid watcher and reader of this series since 2013, and I've had nothing but love and appreciation for it. From its absurd comedy and wacky yet well written characters, to its amazing fighting choreography and underrated OST, Gintama has captured a feeling for me unlike any other show or piece of media I've come across. One of my earliest memories of this series was when I stumbled across Gintoki and Katsura's fight scene against the Harasame pirates in the Benizakura arc movie. I was originally searching for new samurai animes that were similar to Sword of the Stranger and Samurai Champloo, and this seemed right up my alley. The action was brutal, the animation's so smooth, and the characters just look beastly. Like, look at Bonsai, you can't tell me this isn't one of the best designed characters in the show. I immediately started to look for more content, but this was back when Gintama was heavily copyrighted and hardly had any videos on YouTube, so I instead decided to start episode 1 the next day. And of course, to my surprise, I saw no action whatsoever. I was like everyone else that's gone in blind watching Gintama, thinking, where's the action? Why has Gintoki got a wooden sword instead of a real one? What the hell is this Duckman thing? Like, seriously, I was asking myself that question a lot. Turns out that the overarching plot and serious tone was a massive bonus because I was sold on Gintama being a comedy shonen from the start. Before I realized it, I was enjoying it so much that when I finally did reach the Benizakura arc, I was like, oh yeah, this was the same anime that had that amazing action. I could honestly talk about this show forever, so before I get ahead of myself, I should probably talk about the Gintama final movie. And since it's the 15th anniversary of the anime airing, I thought this would be the best time to give my praises to one of my favourite shows. As a manga reader, I already knew what to expect going into this film, but that didn't take away from the experience at all. In true Gintama fashion, the film started off with an hilarious Dragon Ball Z parody, which ends with Katsura, who's the funniest character in the show by the way, complaining about being Yamcha instead of Vegeta, even though he just effortlessly used the Wolfang fist on Gintoki. Moments like this perfectly demonstrate how funny and likable the characters are. They genuinely don't care about their shonen counterparts, but are clearly fans themselves, which is why it never feels distasteful coming from Sorachi. Another was when Gintoki, Shinpachi and Kagura finally reunited with Sadaharu, who has just come out of a 2-year coma. It's heartwarming and emotional for the viewers, and then it becomes hilarious once Sadaharu greets Gintoki the only way he knows, by trying to eat him. You then find out that there are 2 random old guys already in Sadaharu's belly, who just casually decide to leave from his arsehole, and this is all taken in the midst of an intense battle against the Tendoshi. Don't ask me how this makes any sense because the answer is Gintama. It honestly wouldn't be a true union without a scene like this. As for the story, the only minor issue I have with the final part to the Silver Soul arc was the way Utsuro made his return. It felt a bit too convenient just so the Joey Patriots could all encounter Shoyo again. These were all great interactions, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't fully convinced that this was necessary for closure from a writing standpoint. The stakes don't feel as high compared to the invasion of Kabuki District, since the Tendoshi and Amanto are fodder at this point, and we all know that Utsuro is the only notable threat. The pacing was a little weird to me as well, which I was expecting from reading the manga, but was still caught by surprise when I realized the climax took place roughly 1 hour into the film. This isn't really the studio's fault though, since they adapted it straight from the manga. There are of course great moments in this final arc too, my favourite being the conclusion to Gintoki's battle with Utsuro, who is now in control of Takasugi's body. The first thing that caught my attention was the lighting and the shots, which did a great job in setting the tone for this upcoming fight, and the moments where the animation and art changed were an added bonus to the already well done choreography. This fight primarily focuses on Gintoki and Utsuro's difference of ideals, but I loved how this tied in with Gintoki and Takasugi's relationship as well. The use of the flashbacks of their past encounters being phased in was such a great addition to this already well sequenced fight, and reinforces just how heavy this is on Gintoki. Having to kill the very same person he is supposed to protect, but not wavering because it's what needs to be done, is what makes Gintoki such a complex and respectable character. He's faced every challenge throughout his life head on, but never allowed the consequences to hold him back from living his life. Takasugi's final moment with Gintoki beautifully conveys how he's overcome his deep hatred and conflicted feelings towards Gintoki, but also his own self-hate. For him to finally accept the world as it is and believe in the new bonds and friendships that Gintoki has found is emotional to say the least. His characterization isn't spoken about enough in my opinion. Even with such a bittersweet conclusion to the arc, the aftermath is one that every fan will be happy with though. All of our favourite characters and highest spirits and still as ridiculous as ever. Tama's data being corrupted by Medeo to show a future where unemployment is rife and Edo no longer exists, just for Odd Jobs to intervene and say it's business as usual, was a perfect send-off for this series. And even after seeing its ending for a second time, it still feels a little unreal that this is the last time I'll see Gintama, and a part of me wishes this was another fake out ending. There are a bunch of aspects of Gintama that I enjoy, but the one that resonates with me the most would be how well the characters are written. As the main protagonist, Gintoki's past life was one of bloodshed, guilt and tragedy, but in the present he is a man who spends his days picking his nose, reading manga, or gambling instead of paying his rent. Contrasts like this are what make Gintama's character so relatable, because like all of us, they're flawed, but Gintoki perfectly embodies the main theme of living freely. Our past does not define our future, but it's what we do in the present that counts, and as humans, it's okay to enjoy what you like, no matter how bizarre it is. His characterization is so good in fact, that he's one of the very few main protagonists I consider being the best character in their story, the only others being Zack Fair from Final Fantasy Crisis Core and Guts from Berserk. You also know a show is good when there isn't really a support character you dislike. You could argue I have too many favourites. Sugo, Hasegawa, Katsura, Zenzo, Nobume. These are just a few characters that never fail to entertain me whenever they're on screen. I'm not sure what Sorachi's future plans are, but I'm willing to bet it'll be to binge Sekiro 2 if we ever get one. All jokes aside though, I'd like to thank him for creating such a great story and diverse set of compelling characters, themes and jokes for us all to enjoy and laugh excessively at. Thank you all for watching, and hopefully I'll be back sooner rather than later.